Joining us to talk about this morning is Senator Ayo Arise. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you.
Well, a whole lot, so many things in the mind. Trying to talk about the reconciliation moves by a lot of political parties, the PDP, which you are also a member. There are also so many issues happening in your own state of origin, Ekiti State. The PDP in Lagos is putting its house in order. There's also the talk about the constitution review. But let's start from home. What exactly is happening as every political party is moving to actually reconcile, or should I say, warring parties?
Yes, I think Ekiti seems to be on the path of full reconciliation in terms of one, there's a move by all the aspirants, majority of them to work together, and that will be the first major step towards achieving success in 2014. As of the last count, about 16 of the aspirants have decided to work together, and they decided to condemn violence in the state, and they have spoken with one voice. And this means that if 16 of the aspirants are very solid people in their individual rights, are able to come together to say we will work together towards a consensus candidate, then it actually is a pointer to the fact that people are serious about wrestling power from the opposition, particularly in Ekiti, come 2014. And I believe the problem of the party, which mostly emanated from the Congress of 2012, is now almost put to rest, because it's now clear that everybody wants to move the party forward, and ensure that there is victory at the polls, because without victory, it will be totally meaningless. There will be nothing to quarrel over. I think it's sensible for everybody to come together and ensure that we go back to the state.
Because if you look at what is in today's Vanguard, Ekiti PDP chairman, 16 aspirants push for Fayose's suspension, coming together but not actually putting some right inside the house. Now we're talking about the former governor of the state, Ayo Fayose, as well as I think 3 others. 4 others, they say they remain suspended over their alleged roles in their violent attack on some party members. And people say if truly the PDP in your state is set out for true reconciliation, they should be able to actually bring all of those parties in.
Well, reconciliation does not mean sanctioning indiscipline. It's not synonymous with sanctioning violence. If we keep quiet and people continue to get away with problems as serious as a very vicious attack on the former Speaker of the State House of Assembly, who is also the legal advisor for the party. The gentleman was hospitalized for days, and when people go in and they begin to shoot, this is not what politics is all about. This is not why people like myself is in politics. We don't think that we'll be able to have the sympathy of the people of the state, the intellectuals. We all pride ourselves as Ekiti people that we're well tutored, well groomed. We have very many people of integrity, who we will not condone a situation whereby, somebody today just got injured, seriously injured. Tomorrow, we might have a dead man on our hands if this is not checked.
Senator Arise, let's just hold it there. We'll come back and talk about the violence that led to all of this just after this break. We'll be back. with us, Senator Ayo Arise. We're looking at the PDP crisis specifically in Ekiti State. You were talking about the violence that led to the suspension of some members in the PDP in Ekiti State.
Yes. And we all came together. There is a collective risk to everybody. And the issue of our former governor, Ayo Fayose, I don't think anybody will lose sleep if we don't have him in the PDP. That's the honest to God truth. Because every election we've had since he left office is worked against us in the PDP. It's just that the party, I don't think they're serious about discipline, because when things like that happen, and he was suspended, and he went on air to say that the PDP was dead in Ekiti, as if those of us there, we can't for nothing. So everybody felt, look, hey, where are we coming from? In any event, we have a formidable opposition on our hands.
Did he physically attack this?
No, obviously it's.
Or he sponsored someone.
It's those people. I mean, he was the advocate of not supporting the consensus candidate as advised by Mr. President, and they were to constitute a committee to start the process of how the modalities would be towards getting a consensus candidate. And they went in there to attack, his supporters went in there to attack the secretariat on the day of the inauguration of the committee. And we felt nobody is afraid of primaries in Ekiti. For us, we do not mind primaries. But Mr. President advised, and we felt it made a lot of sense to everyone, that if we're so, fractionalized, where you start having like 16 up to 20 aspirants, the moment you go outside the primaries, somebody who fails to win, and there will be the issue of winner takes all, in which case whoever wins during the primaries believes is entitled to make his group appoint the senators, appoint the House of Rep members, appoint the commissioners. These are the bane of the problem, the crisis in most states. So we now came together to say that this makes a lot of sense. If we're talking about consensus, everyone who has an input, the aspirants will have an input. And you all know that, look, you are the first among equals. It does not give you the right to believe that every other person can't. So it makes a lot of sense. And for us, we are looking for a way to ensure that we face the opposition frontally. We have a PhD holder running the state. We have a professor as the deputy. Now, can't we imagine within ourselves that we need somebody that is very capable to tackle these people? To take them on. You don't have to have a PhD, but you must have a level of education that is acceptable to the people of Ekiti. So for us, and you don't have to carry any baggage anyway. Not serious ones. But for us, we have looked at it. We want to move forward with the party. But moving forward does not mean we have to take everybody in. If you will be a source of problem to the party.
The issue of discipline in political parties, this is not the first time it's come up. But it's as though it's a recurrent decimal.
Of course.
What can be done to take care of that?
Well, let people just, from any level of government, let us act within the confines of the law. Let us believe that we have something guiding us. If you just leave everyone together in any lawless society, and there is nothing controlling you, like the constitution that we have, we must begin to preserve this thing and say, look, if you have a party constitution, whatever the guidelines are must be followed.
But then some other people will put it this way: is it the party as against service to the people? What is driving the politicians to seek office? Is it service to the people, or is it accruing of wealth?
I can assure you that for now, I think I have another interview in the Guardian of today. As it stands today, the main driving force is acquisition of wealth. That's it. Because there are no jobs. And everybody looks at politics as a way of making money. Because if you look at it, to see somebody who maybe you can measure his value. As soon as he becomes governor and he leaves office, he begins to control stupendous wealth. And you now look at it, why would people not be attracted to such a position? More so, nobody's asking questions. Nobody's going to jail. When you take people to court in this country for actions that are inimical to the interests of the people they have governed, you can be rest assured that justice is very far away. And so, everybody we all do things with impunity. There are people ordinarily who would love to serve. But the moment you get there will be people who will be goring you. Oh, this and that. Well, I want to say with exceptions. At least I worked with Shegoni. He was in government. And I can tell you that he made no money. And he will be one of the few exceptions in this country who had been governor, who did not make money from government.
But some people will say it's because you worked with him.
Not only the fact that I worked with him, I know him very well. And I know that even the house he has in his hometown, friends came together to put it down for him. So I know that even if he did not do some things right, he was a very upright person. So for us, we can be very emotional about that guy.
Let's go back to this issue of consensus candidate. For some, they would argue that if your party is so sure that 16 of you have come together in that party to say, well, we are for consensus candidate, and you have maybe perhaps 4 who are against it, then you can as well put that to vote and or go ahead with the primaries, and let's see how the other 4 will gather votes enough to emerge winners. So why put suspension on them when you knew that you have 16 on your own side?
No, the suspension is as a result of the violence they meted out.
Not as on account of their rejection of the consensus policy.
If they do not want consensus, and they come up with this kind of idea of let's go into voting, that is the civilized way of doing things. When you go out there to go and visit violence on people, and already we have problems in the Southwest. Problem of the fact that, look, what kind of image have we created for our party? When we look at Ekiti, what kind of leadership are we pointing to? You will see that even those who are leaders in the past, the likes of Professor Adena, Professor Borishade, all of them, they have more or less sat back, looking and watching what is going on. Because many of them, they find it difficult to understand how come the party has degenerated to this level. So if we know the problem...
That's what your party should answer, because now you should be answering such, because once upon a time you had sway, especially in the Southwest.
Exactly.
How did you lose the entire Southwest should be what should concern the PDP.
Well, in terms of losing in Ekiti and Osun, that was not as a result of incompetence or anything on the part of those governing. But it was as a result of Salami's judgment, which I have always been here to contest. So he actually dashed those estates to ACN. They did not win an election.
What about Ogun State?
Ogun State is a different scenario. Ogun State had a governor, an outgoing governor, now who was at loggerheads with Baba. And of course, there was a very big split in the party. And Amosu cashed on that crisis. And so, if you look at Ibadan too, they were mostly the PDP people working against themselves. And that's why we are saying, if we have a consensus, issues like that would go into the back burner.
So the PDP,
Yes.
is it that the PDP has done a research and they have found out that, it would seem that consensus candidates would be the way to go in almost all areas?
Not in every place, but the Ekiti election is very critical to the PDP.
Not in every place?
Not in every place.
So you wouldn't recommend it as a solution in some other states that seem to be having the same problem?
Well, there will be states I would imagine that Lagos might come out with a consensus candidate at the end of the day. It's very, very likely. Most likely that's what will happen. In Ekiti, we have strong opposition on our hands. We have a very short period to campaign, and we believe we are just too many on the field to begin to go into primaries. If we go into primaries with about 20 people, you find out that each person will have a little bit of his own conclaves here and there. Now, somebody least expected who comes in with maybe tons of money might just hijack the candidacy.
Then what happens to the place of the test of popularity?
Oh, popularity only comes in when you are talking of the case of general election.
Not in
the primaries, it is dictated more by financial wherewithal. It's not so much about how popular you are.
But should that...
Because let's look at Ekiti. We have about 900 people who vote for governorship. Like, hypothetically, take somebody coming in, giving every delegate about $1 million. So what do you do to that?
But should that be the case? Should it be about
exactly? That's why we are saying we would rather go consensus. So if we go that other way, then you discover that some people, either they have gotten their money legitimately, or in a questionable manner, they can come in and hijack the party.
But then some will say, yes, it's not possible that someone could, that same financial power, settle every of the delegates and be given the consensus ticket.
There will be no delegates at this time, this consensus. Now, I will be one of those deciding who the consensus will be. The likes of Caleb Ulubolade, Senator Oloporoko, Akerele, that's Otumba Akerele.
Which means that, sorry to interrupt you there, but that means that they have a smaller clique to settle?
No. I am saying that who wants to come and settle me with how much? I'm just telling you the caliber of people who will be taking this decision. So what would you want to come?
I thought they said everyone has a price.
Well, especially
in politics.
They might in politics, for those who don't have any other job. It's not impossible. But I don't know how much money anybody wants to give me. You know, for me to now change my vote because of that.
Tell us what you're thinking towards 2015, because we've always even argued amongst ourselves that to you, politicians, well, 2015 is just some days away.
Yeah. How it's 2014. So ours is 2014, it's just next year.
No, I'm talking about nationally, looking at the elections. I understand Ekiti State is going to the polls in 2014. But when we see politicians talking about 2015, which is almost 2 years, but to the politician, is that too far away to prepare?
Well, because most people are full-time politicians. And that is their job. So they have to politic. If you talk about 2 years, it's not really that too far away. But for those with the responsibility of governance, it could be a source of distraction. But there is nothing we can do about it. Even while the character sitting down might not be the architect of such, those surrounding, the hangers-on who want to hold on to their position, will continue to politic. And that is what hits up there. It's not necessarily about the main person on the seat, because he has jobs to carry out on a day-to-day basis.
Does it really worry the PDP that they've not been able to, get some states, for instance, like Lagos?
With Lagos, yes, PDP has not been able to get Lagos up to date, but I have a feeling that this coming election will be very different. The people of Lagos State, they are ready for a change to see what actually can this other person offer us, because they've seen a regime of serious taxation, a regime of, it's
but they've also seen a regime of work.
They have seen a regime of work, which is very relative too, because they've only been comparing what Fashola has done to what Tinubu did. Those were the two people so far, and they are both ACN people. Now there are people coming in from the PDP, coming in to say, look, we will do a lot better. And that is they've laid the ground up. Anybody coming in to govern now cannot do less. We have to do more. But if now that the PDP has so many reasons to campaign and they have things they can point to, that look, we will do this better. This regime of multiple taxation and the poor people suffering on a day-to-day basis in Lagos, we're not talking about Ikoyi and Victoria Island. This is just a fraction of the population of Lagos people. You can find them in Alimosho, in Agege and all that. So let us see the quantum of development in these places. And let's begin to measure. And these are people that when you go into cities like New York, even where you used to call slum, the Harlems of those days, they are now completely rejuvenated. So we're talking of development. We can't have those shackles, that people still continue to live in, and we are saying we are working. There are people, you will see the kind of candidate that
but as you work, as you try to see what you can do about Lagos and so many other states like your state, Ekiti,
yes, Ekiti.
We're also talking about the merger, which is almost a done deal. Isn't that likely to upset the PDP even at a national level?
I have always said that we can't afford to take any opposition lightly. But in a state like Ekiti, where you talk about APC, who are the poor margin to become APC? They are the ACN people. They are not different. The population is not changing. The ideology is not changing. It's still the ACN people that we're running against. Even if they call them their name, now APC, or they change to another name, they are still the same people. It's different from where you have maybe AMPP that had some presence, margin with CPC and all that. So they could have some effect. But when you still look at it geographically, the PDP will still win the general elections. Because PDP, even in those states, will still be able to have 25%. And there are states where PDP will have about 90, 80, 90, 95%.
Well, are you sure? Okay, with the recent court judgment
Yes.
faulting INEC's deregistration of some parties, are you sure some of those other parties will not want to join them, giving them more clout in the different states?
Oh, but I may come to think of it. The party that got judgment. That's Chris Okotie. Chris Okotie's party, Fresh, and the others. How many people is he going to bring to APC? I mean, let's face it, without the structure, those who have the parties that you can call serious parties in this country today are PDP, ACN, AMPP, and CPC. At least CPC has one governor. But parties that do not even have a councillor, I will start counting them as parties. Then it's just the fact that we're not really serious about facing what the problem of this country should be. We should be looking more even at two-party system. I'm an advocate of a two-party system. I don't believe that one party must continue to win.
You know, and now you talked about advocacy. It reminds us of your time at the Senate, because we really don't have enough time. Let's quickly look at the Constitution review, and let's pick the issue of local government autonomy. If you were there, what would you have voted for?
For me, I would have voted for the local government autonomy with a lot of definition. Those who will come in to become chairman, we would have a minimum qualification. They must have some training. They must have some education. Otherwise, many local government today, they just go in there, they share the money, they go back to their respective states. They do no job. And such things would cause worry for many people. But at the end of the day, moving forward, what should the Constitution look like? We must be making amendments to ensure and guarantee more of a federal constitution. You have the autonomy of the local government under the state in terms of budgeting. But the states should be solely in charge of creating local government, not the federal government. So these are the areas. But if we must run this kind of system, that is the Constitution, we must grant a level of autonomy to the local government. But if we were to run a true federal state, we must enable the states to create, because they are the ones that understand how their federating units or how their local governments are growing and how the cities are growing. So they should be able to create local governments assert when they feel a particular area is due for more local governments. And that is the area that you have a little problem in this constitution. Listing 774 local governments is an anomaly, because it presumes that the country will not grow, that the local governments will not grow, and so they will not have to expand, you know, in terms of services and provisions of infrastructure and all that to those local government areas.
You know,
that must be expunged from the constitution.
Sorry about them. Before we go, I see two things here which is tilting towards the ACN. There's a principle. First, the Lagos State ACN had to create more local government. And secondly, the consensus candidacy issue, which a whole lot of people, even then the PDP, had to criticize the ACN for, is what your party in Ekiti State is actually, using to get its candidate for, in the 2014 election. Is it that, you have started learning from the ACN?
No. The ACN, they do not do consensus.
What do they do?
Senator Tinubu, the governor, picks the candidate.
The former governor.
The former governor picks the candidate for the ACN. It's not a consensus.
So what's the difference between handpicking and consensus?
Handpicking and consensus are two different things. When you talk about consensus, all of us will sit down. Those interested and the leaders of the party.
There will be a conclave of sorts. Exactly.
We'll all sit down and say, okay, of all these people, we'll all go through interviews and discussions and all that. And there will be peer group contribution too. So we will come up with somebody to say, okay, we are happy with this person.
But how do we determine the leaders?
Oh, no, we have leaders in the state. I mean, you have many of them that you cannot question. We have the likes of Justice Jolakwe, who is there. You have Babafe Babalola, who is a leader. You know, we have so many of them there. You have the BOT members, Uyelu, you know, you have many people who all sit down and discuss and look at the candidates and come up with a consensus candidate. That is consensus. But if the president has said, look, go and put this man there, that's a different matter. That is when you have problems.
Are we likely to see any upset in 2014?
Well, we would upset in terms of governance.
Yes.
No, it will not be an upset for us to defeat Governor Fayemi, because he didn't win any election in the state. So we will defeat him now thoroughly, so that the courts will not be able to help him. Well,
Senator Ayo Arise, we'd like to thank you for finding time to join us this morning.